resume debate. The honourable member for Fredericton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been reminded again and again of the kindness and creativity of people across this country these past 4 months, especially in our own civil service. That historic weekend in mid-March, when the pandemic took hold in Canada, began a domino effect of businesses closing to the public, employees losing work, and people flocking to government relief programs, fearing whether or not they would make rent. L'énorme quantité de demandes qui ont été présentées et traitées par les employés du Service Canada et par l'Agence du revenu du Canada est incroyable. Plus de 6 millions de demandes ont été présentées en date de la mi-avril, seulement 2 semaines après que les Canadiens et Canadiennes ont pu commencer à présenter leurs demandes. More unsung heroes of this pandemic are the people employed at Global Affairs Canada and the CBSA, who began an incredible effort of repatriating Canadians from across the globe. Those first weeks of the pandemic, these civil servants moved mountains to schedule flights, to confirm travel eligibility, to work with consulates and foreign governments to get Canadian citizens and permanent residents back on Canadian soil. Their efforts were incredible. I know the minister responsible played a significant leadership role in guiding these efforts, and I wish to thank him as well. And who can overlook the incredible work of the people involved in Canada's public health infrastructure? Dr. Tam and all the other provincial health officers, daily updates and leadership, supported by the entire public health agency and the public health departments across each province and territory, pooled data, tracked cases, and implemented protocols that have saved countless lives. All of these efforts are to be commended. But the staff that dedicated their time to these emergency measures had to step away from the regular workloads, and ongoing cases at IRCC, Service Canada, CRA, Veterans Affairs, etc. have been stuck and languishing for months. What do people do when their federal systems are shutting down? They come to their MPs. I and my team have been handling an incredible number of these case files and people whose lives are on hold while their files stagnate in a backlog. Even as our government solely works to address these files that are piling up on desks across departments, the traditional supporting documentation that people need to track down is not always available. They cannot possibly complete the requests being asked of them. We need these systems to empower workers to find alternative pathways for Canadians. This system collapse is having second and third order impacts on individuals and families across the country. Let me tell you about a few of my constituents. There is a gentleman in my riding who has been working in Canada for several years now and is applying for his permanent residency. He has submitted all of his documentation but has been asked to submit one last piece of information, an FBI security check. It is not possible for him to get this document right now, as the FBI is not conducting these checks at this time. Relying on other countries to provide documentation is highly complex, given how hard it is to get documentation from within our own government. Will he need to leave Canada because we insisted on a document he couldn't get? How long will we leave this man and his loved ones in limbo? We need flexibility in the immigration system and caseworkers empowered to identify alternative paths to residency and citizenship, or we risk losing our neighbours that have come to call Canada their home. In another case, there is a couple in my riding who rely on their GIS checks each month, like so many other Canadians. They both submitted paper versions of their taxes at the same time in February. One of them had their taxes reviewed. One of them had their tax file lost. As a result, they have been denied their GIS payment until they can resubmit their taxes. They are being told it must be done via e-file, and they haven't been able to make that happen. We need flexibility within the CRA, and we need employees in that department to be empowered to work with people. In this case, to either track down the paper file or to work with this couple to facilitate refiling their taxes so that they can receive their GIS payments. In yet another case, there is a mother in my riding who lost her child tax benefit just before the pandemic shut down offices in March because the father of her children claimed that he had custody when he did not. The CRA has placed the burden of proof on her shoulders in order to regain the benefits she needs to raise these children. One of the supporting documents required was a letter from a healthcare provider substantiating her claims. For months, doctors, dentists, and other health professionals have not been providing these services. Getting these supporting documents has been incredibly difficult. Encore une fois, nous devons mettre en œuvre des systèmes qui sont flexibles et qui permettent aux employés fédéraux de travailler plus directement avec les gens durant ces temps incertains. I know many of my colleagues in this House worked day and night in the first months of the pandemic to get support to constituents in crisis and continue to do so. That workload has now shifted to support constituents in their backlogged cases. While I and my constituent assistants are continuing to advocate on the individual cases that come through my door, we need to fix this at a macro level. I wanted to raise this today to articulate a question to my colleagues in government. What comes next? Can we initiate a major hiring push, as Veterans Affairs Canada announced last month, to handle their backlog? So many Canadians remain under and unemployed. This seems the perfect opportunity to get more hands on deck to start working across government departments. Can we empower caseworkers with more flexibility and tools at their disposal to massage case files through the system, recognizing that the standard burden of documentation is not realistic now and may not be for months to come? I am but one opposition member of this House, and a rookie member at that. I don't pretend to have all the solutions, but I know the solutions are out there, and I believe they lie in our civil service. The brilliant and compassionate minds that have worked tirelessly through March and April to get support into the hands of Canadians need to be equipped and empowered to put their brilliance to work to address these issues. À travers le pays, nous observons nos communautés changer. Le gouvernement doit ajuster ses services et se mettre à niveau avec la technologie. There is so much about this virus that we cannot control, but we can control how we respond to it. I wish to end on a positive note. A thank you to our civil service and a pledge to do all I can with my colleagues in this House to ensure that they have the tools and the respect that they need to help Canadians in this time and in the future ahead. Thank you. Merci.